Here is a video that focuses on the exponent power rules and how do you simplify those. So our first example is -5 squared. Now, one thing you can identify this is as -5 times -5, which is negative times a negative, is positive 25. I put example B very similar to example A. Notice the difference where the negative is. In this example, the negative is inside, so -5 times -5. Well, this one is really what the negative is outside. So remember PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Right now we're on exponent. You have to take care of this piece first and then go back and multiply to -1. So I still have that negative, and now I have 5 times 5. So negative, and then 5 times 5 is 25, so we get -25. So be very careful with those two examples. I wanted to highlight that. All right, let's go on to example C. With example C, the property that we're going to use is we have a base of 2, another base of 2, and they're multiplying. So if you remember, I'm just going to go ahead and put a 1 here. You're going to add those powers together. So 2, and then it's 1 plus 4, which is 2 to the 5th. Now if you remember, 2 to the 5th is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. With your calculator, you could also check it. You get an answer of 32. All right, example D. I'm going to show you this problem done a few different ways. All right, so one way is noticing that you have a base of 4 in both of them. And what you could do is you could expand out all the 4s that it has and cancel. This is one way. So you cancel, you cancel, you cancel, you cancel. So what you're left with in the numerator is still a 1, and then the denominator is a 4 and a 4, which becomes 1/16. So that's one solution. Or you could use your properties that we learned about. So 4 to the 4th over 4 to the 6th have the same base. So you can subtract their powers, and you get 4 to the -2. Now if you remember in our properties, we don't want to have a negative power, so we have to flip it. So now it's going to be 1 over 4, and now this power becomes a positive. Now 1 over 4 squared is 1/16. All right, one more way. One more way is 4 to the 4th over 4 to the 6th. You can go ahead and cancel by a common factor. I have 4 4s in the numerator, 6 4s in the denominator, so I can cancel up to 4 4s. So these all are canceled out, and this now becomes a 2. So it canceled by 4 of them. So I'm left with 1 over 4 squared, which is 1/16. All right, moving on to some more examples here. We have a parentheses times a parentheses. So what I'm going to go and do is just drop those parentheses and multiply like pieces together. So this is a like piece, our coefficients, -3 and 4. These are like pieces, they have the A's, so A and A. And then these are like pieces because they have the B's as their bases. Now we're going to go ahead and apply the properties. -3 times 4 is -12, that's your coefficient. And I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 here and a 1 here. What do I do with those? I'm going to go ahead and add them together because they have the same base. And now my B's, I'm going to add those together because they also have the same base. So 4 plus -3 is 1. We've now reduced it down. All right, example B. What we have is a exponential out here. If you remember, we can go ahead and distribute it to all the pieces. So it's 2 raised to the 3rd, x raised to the 3rd, and then y squared raised to the 3rd. All right, let's take care of this first. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. X times x times x is still just x cubed. And now if you remember, this is a power to a power that represents y squared times y squared times y squared, where you multiply those numbers together to give you y to the 6. Example C, heading down to example C. Example C has a power here of 0. So what that represents is everything in there represents a 1, because anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So that's a 1. And then I still have that 3a. So then 3a times 1 is 3a. Our last example in this video, example D. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and distribute that squared into all the pieces. So it's going to become 5 squared x cubed squared over y squared. Now, in the numerator, 5 squared is the same thing as 5 times 5, which is 25. X cubed raised to the second power, power to a power. You want to go ahead and multiply those numbers together. Gives you x to the 6th. And then we have over y squared.